Oh, Cyril, I think we messed up, like, big time. It's been a year of running mouths, way down in the south, throwing shade across the ocean, loud and full of doubt. First we said you're ill-informed, didn't think you'd care. Then the ambassador got nasty, floating insults in the air. We poked the bear, we pulled the tail, now we're reading the rejection mail. Ramamola started the fire, Green Natasha raised it higher. Vincent and Crispin joined the charade, with Thick leading the insult parade. We mocked the diplomat, we had a laugh, but now we're looking at the economic graph. Oh, Donald, wait, don't close the gate. Can't we just kiss and make up? We see the G20 list and our name is missed. It's a nightmare from which we need to wake up. Miami is sunny and we need the money to keep the jobs flowing and the trade deal sweet. Put aside the pride, let us back inside. Don't leave us stranded on the lonely street. Can't we just kiss and make up? Ma. Sarah was joking, thought he was the boss, but he didn't calculate the total cost. Mocking the envoys, acting so cool. Now we look like the kids kicked out of school. You had enough, you drew the line. No Miami ticket, no invite to dine. We're sitting here holding an empty plate, realizing way too late. Magwenya was typing hit and send, thinking the patience would never end. But you saw the clips and you heard the slight. Now we're shivering in the diplomatic night. The poverty's high, the struggle is real. We're desperate to sign that trade of peace. Oh, Donald, wait, don't close the gate. Can't we just kiss and make up? We see the G20 list and our name is missed. It's a nightmare from which we need to wake up. Miami is sunny and we need the money to keep the jobs flowing and the trade deal sweet. Put aside the pride, let us back inside. Don't leave us stranded on the lonely street. Can't we just kiss and make up? Oh, we know we said some things that sting. We treated diplomacy like a boxing ring, but the rand is shaking. The people need work, we promise not to act like such a jerk. Swallow the ego, drop the disdain, or we're gonna be left out in the rain. Oh, Donald, wait, don't close the gate. Can't we just kiss and make up? We see the G20 list and our name is missed. It's a nightmare from which we need to wake up. Miami is sunny and we need the money to keep the jobs flowing and the trade deal sweet. Put aside the pride, let us back inside. Don't leave us stranded on the lonely street. Can't we just kiss and make up? Oh, come on, ANC, pick up the phone. Don't make us go it alone. And Miami looks nice this time of year. Just one little kiss. Make up, please.
Marvin Devine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Can't we just kiss up, make up, folks? Can't we just kiss and make up? Welcome back to the program. It's a pleasure to have you join me today once again. Welcome back. There we go. Just double checking the sound quality there very quickly. It is the countdown to Christmas, 24 days before Christmas. You see my little fire truck back there, my Bucky, with 24 days to go before Christmas. All right, there we go. We do the countdown. We start it now. 24 days before Christmas. All right, so we got that back there. Got a few other Easter eggs up on the shelf. You might have noticed a couple of things back there as we start to get decorated for Christmas here. It's also the time to begin Advent's calendar. So a song sounds like something the chorus would sing. It does. All right, so we got this one from Kinder Schokolade. So the first day of the Advent's calendar. So let's open it up and look for the 1st of December. Let's see what we got there. Here it is up here on the top. That's a good spot for it. What do we get? Ooh, a little little penguin, I guess that is, or something like that, a little chocolate there. That's one. So again, this year, more than one advents calendar. So that's the first one. Second one is here from Aldi, I think it is. So let's see where the first one is here. So Santa and his reindeer. It's right here in the middle. Number one. This chocolate comes straight out. Whoops. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa. That's so excited. It just went all over the place. Where'd it go? Where'd the chocolate go? There it is. It's on the floor. Pick that back up. 3-second roll. So that appears to be, I don't know what that is. It's like bells or something like that. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so that's that one. Okay. And then we'll do one more Advents calendar. And this one here. So that's chocolate. Yes, that's chocolate. So this one we got to find number one. A little hard to see the numbers here because of the color of this thing. So there's number one right there in the center again by the bell tower. Okay. And this one is it's a rocking horse. So that's what that one is. So 2 chocolates there, 3 chocolates I should say. And those are the Advents calendar for today as we get started for the Christmas holiday season. Where did I put that on? I just had it. There it is. 3 chocolates. I'll eat those chocolates later on. We are close to the renewal of the Starbucks time, folks. It is just a mere 4 days from now. So Friday I can have a Frappuccino. Nicholas says, love be sharing the run up to Christmas and your birthday with you, Chris. Well, that'd be very kind of you. Thank you. Calendars have more than 12 days because some of them only have 12 days. Huh? What does that mean? All right. Welcome to everybody who's here tonight. It's a pleasure to have me join me once again for this special time for the broadcast. For those who missed it earlier, I was interviewing Steve Hofmeyer, and that interview went on for a while. So we ran over it, which was the plan. And now we are here to talk about the news. I've got plenty of news stories. Israel's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Gideon Sa'ar, met earlier today in Jerusalem with His Majesty King Zwala Banzi of the Abba Tembu Kingdom. Delegation includes, among others, during their visit to Israel, the delegation met with survivors of captivity and will also travel communities near the Gaza border, witness firsthand the atrocities committed by Hamas. Wow, that's interesting. Wow, Abba Tembu. Aren't they the same guys? Yeah, they are pro-EFF, so I'm a little puzzled by that. Maybe that's because the EFF were just good bedfellows and gave them what they wanted. I don't know. I remember that Amatembu, he was around, Julius Malema is probably losing his mind right now. His head's probably popping like a pimple this hour. Estelle Edwards, Janine Seens, Sick Puppy, Mandy Van Rooyen, Andre Mostart, Andre Floyd, Janine's. Oh, I want to check on something real quick. Oh, come on. It's ever since they updated WhatsApp on a PC, it's been a mess. So I'm typing and it's there. Excuse me. All right, so I hadn't heard, that's kind of frustrating. I did all this effort to help somebody last night and I haven't heard what's going on with them. So I just sent a message saying, hey, what's going on? Who else we got here? Lynn, welcome to you. Elmarie Mayer, Freya Menzel, welcome to you. Francis Ruiz, Konrad Gedenhuis, Johan Barnard, Multipass, Amanda De Beer, hello from Cape Town. And then Mr. Echo, Jean Rudolph, Sandra, and Renee, Marissa Besselar, Sloth Puppy, James Warren, Jared Horn, and Paul Stapleberg, Beardy Brits, Neff, Grayman, Jackie Kane, and Nicola got that already. Okay, Mad Max gave a super chat of 35 Rand. Thank you for that. Clouds are gathering slowly. It's a new month. All right, so everybody's getting paid. Happy is actually Gemini, okay? Some Advent calendars have 12 days and 24. Oh, mine has 24. Okay. Well, Blue Bully, that's what I'm asking. I haven't heard from Anna since late last night, so I'm just checking her now. I'm wondering what's going on. So, yep. And I got no second tick mark, so that's a little concerning. Last night I got 2 tick marks. Now I've got no second tick mark, so hopefully that'll come up. All right, Johan Besta, Marissa Besselar, Marlene Gregorio, and Not a Happy Camper, Eleanor Ungara, and Mad Max. Awesome interview, Steve. Well done. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. All right. So, and Vela, welcome to you as well. Cat Lady, I missed anybody. My apologies. Reddick is back. Richard N. 2717. Welcome to you. Anyway, let's get to the news, folks. And I'm not missing anybody on purpose. Don't take offense. Frere du toit. New sin taxes in South Africa. We were assured months ago by the arrogant South African political authorities that the money from the U.S. for HIV was unnecessary, as it only provided 17% of the money, and South Africa would be fine. It doesn't need the American money. Remember that in February when Donald Trump suspended foreign assistance in South Africa based on its abrogation of property rights? Remember that? See, that's the real story. It's not because they were oppressing white people. It is the abrogation of property rights in violation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, in violation of the South African Constitution. That is why Donald Trump suspended foreign assistance. We're not going to give money to a country that insults us and then violates their own laws and international norms, which is why it was suspended. So we were told confidently by Aaron Motsoaledi, the health minister, Yeah, all this was supposedly, American money didn't matter. The 17% wasn't important. South Africa could carry through. But we found out shortly after that the 17% of the money spent on HIV in South Africa, $350 million by the U.S., is basically every penny spent on monitoring and surveillance of HIV. Without that, programs are useless. You have to have monitoring and surveillance. So South Africa's government has failed to take over key responsibility in working to keep HIV at bay. And now they're not only admitting that, but now they're blaming Trump for their failure. They have now had 10 months to come up with a solution for this, 10 months to find alternate source of funding. So it isn't like it got turned off yesterday. But now we're going to blame Trump. He is the boogeyman, the Babagaya, the chupacabra for every little failure of the South African government. And just blame him for everything. And here we go with the blame game. Look at this picture of Donald Trump talking about South African HIV care. What does Donald Trump have to do with South African HIV care? Not a damn thing. And Americans have nothing to do with it. It's your responsibility. After buckling under the body blows of U.S. aid cuts this year, South African health organizations are exploring new ways to raise money through social bonds and resource pulling in a bid to recapture lost ground in the battle against HIV. South Africa, which has the world's highest burden of HIV, with about 1 in 5 people living with the virus, has relied on the United States for 17% of its budget until President Trump slashed aid earlier this year. What they don't tell you is that in the early years of this, the United States provided virtually 100% of the funding for South Africa. Yep. Yes, I saw the transgender clinic crying 1,000 people. That's, I'm sorry. That's not my responsibility to take care of your issues. Now charities are trying to pick up the pieces of an HIV campaign once hailed as a global success story, and they're looking at new funding models. No, South Africa's HIV program has never been hailed as a global success story. If it was a global success story, you wouldn't have 1 in 5 adults infected with HIV. 1 in 5. It's never been a success story. It's never been a success story. You've increased the number of people on HIV that are just from a few 100,000 to 8.5 million, the worst in the world. You want to talk about a success story in reducing HIV? Let's talk about Uganda in the 1980s under Yoweri Museveni, a thoroughly reprehensible autocrat, but a successful leader in reducing and almost eliminating HIV in Uganda. Entire villages were wiped out back in the 1980s by HIV, and they turned it around just like that. Without PEPFAR, without funding from the U.S., with their own responsible behavior and their own awareness campaigns. There was no PEPFAR in the 1980s when Museveni came in 86 and overthrew that government of Milton Obote and took over and began a campaign to stop HIV. Boom, 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 boom. In a matter of less than a decade, they had arrested that problem and reduced it to a very low incidence, almost not even a pandemic anymore. That was Uganda's success. You want to talk about a success story against HIV? Let's talk about Botswana, which reduced adult prevalence from 39% or 37% down to about 12% of the population. And not because people are dying, because those people aren't dying. They're living with HIV for decades longer because they're getting antiretrovirals, ARVs. So it's difficult to reduce the incidence when the people don't die off, right? You follow that? If you have 1 million people and then the next year you gain 500,000 more, but the 1 million people don't die, then you have 1.5, then 2, then 2.5. And that builds over a period of time. But Botswana has reduced the incidence of adult HIV from the ages of 50 to 49, which is the cohort that we look at when we deal with HIV statistics. It's 15 to 49 from 37 or 39% of the population to just 12 or 13%. That is a success story. And that success story is born by the engagement, involvement of the National HIV/AIDS Program plan developed by the government, funded heavily by the United States, where it reached a peak of $89 million when I lived in Botswana in 2008. Now it's down to less than $40 million a year. Why? Because the government of Botswana has picked up responsibility for the program while also having a societal role. This has not been the case in South Africa, which it's a failure. To see this garbage being published by Reuters talking about it being it's a lie. This is British propaganda. Reuters put this crap out. This is an absolute lie. They stick Donald Trump into a South African problem, which he has nothing to do with. He bears no responsibility for, and blaming him because now there'll be taxes in South Africa on alcohol. Yes, that's right, on sugary drinks. Yes, they want to tax these things to pay for HIV. Yep. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Wow. Even before the aid acts fell, they implemented a social impact bond in 2023 with the South African Medical Research Council, a government-funded research organization. New funding mechanisms being considered and range from so-called sin taxes to fund health services to the pooling of resources among organizations and countries. South Africa already implements a tax on alcohol, cigarettes, and sugary drinks. Helen Rees, founder and head of WIT's Reproductive Health and HIV Institute, is the leading South African research institute, said sin taxes could also be used to fill the void left by international aid cuts. Can we tax things like gambling? Can we tax foreign exchange in terms of cryptocurrency? Innovative taxation can be beneficial for health and beneficial for incomes. No, it can be detrimental to health. It can be detrimental to mental health when you rob from people. Wow. That's part of the problem, you rough skeppers. HIV is a lifestyle. It's not. It's a deadly disease. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, South Africa is battling to re-engage more than 1 million people who have fallen out of HIV treatment. Oh, but I thought the U.S. money didn't matter. Deputy President Paul Mashatile has warned that South Africa is facing a stubborn and painful crisis at the heart of its HIV response, with 1.1 million people lost to treatment despite major progress in prevention and testing. Speaking at a World AIDS Day commemoration in Masabola, in Limpopo province, Mashatile said the country had surpassed 2 of the UN AIDS targets but continued to struggle with the second one, ensuring that people who know their status stay on treatment. 1.1 million people being disengaged from care were not just a number, but represented mothers who stopped treatment because transport was too costly, men who walked away after negative clinic experiences, young people who feared disclosure, and thousands who moved between provinces without continuity of care. For once, Paul Mashatile said something that actually has value and merit. I'm gobsmacked. He actually said something that wasn't simply stupid. It's about time. Nice to see. Meanwhile, speaking of saying stupid things, yesterday, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa went on air to congratulate the nation and thank them for their role in making the G20 Leaders Summit a success. Okay, I'll buy that. But then he decided to insult America while later claiming that America is an important ally. But unfortunately, they aren't talking to America. South Africa will continue to engage as a full member of the G20 despite U.S. leader Donald Trump's call. He's not a leader, U.S. president. My goodness. President called to exclude the country from next year's gathering. President Cyril Ramaphosa said a week after the end of his year-long leadership of the forum. South Africa is one of the founding members of the G20, and South Africa is therefore a member of the G20 in its own name and right. True, but at the moment, you're not welcome in Miami. And today, the United States has now got the presidency of the G20. Let's see what happens going forward if South Africa's bluster pans out or it's just more bullshit from the office of the presidency. South Africa FM's Nonkululeko Mantula and 4 others have been remanded over the Russian military recruitment. She doesn't look too happy there, does she? Doesn't look too happy. Well-known radio personality named Mantula was among 4 others who appeared in court today for allegedly recruiting South Africans to join the Russian military. Mantula, 39, and Tulani Mazibuko, 24, Zolani Ntuli, 47, Sipa Mandala Shababala, 23, and Sifiso Mabena, 21, are charged with the contravention of the regulation of foreign military assistance. They appeared in the Kempton Park Magistrates Court and have been remanded to custody for a formal bail hearing for 7 days. So they will be in prison for the next 7 days, regardless of whether they're guilty or not. No bail. Wow, that's a huge shocker there. I'm surprised they got no bail. The people who were accused of murdering Brendan Horner were given the equivalent of about $25 bail. Remember that? One of them, anyway, not the second one. One of the accused, the co-accused, and they were innocent, by the way, of that charge. The co-accused in the murder of Brendan Horner, the murder of a white Afrikaans-speaking farm manager, tortured and murdered in South Africa. The accused murderer was given bail of the equivalent of about $25, if I recall correctly, just a few hundred rand. Meanwhile, these people haven't killed anybody, and they're accused of recruiting abroad, and they go to jail with no bail. Interesting how they do that. It's a bit shocking. to say the least. Former process CEO and member of the MK Party, Lucky Montana, is not so lucky. He's resigned from Parliament. Another MK parliamentary resignation. Hey, if you're in the MK Party, folks, just wait. Wait in line. You're going to get into Parliament because they're all leaving. I got to replace them. Wow. Montana gained infamy during his tenure as a process CEO. He's known as one of the state capture enablers during the presidency of Jacob Zuma. In a short statement on X, Montana said he had approached the party's leadership earlier this year about his intention to resign. On August 30th, I formally wrote to Dr. Schlope and Chief Whip Colleen Makubela confirming the same. Today, my resignation takes effect. Shortly after a statement, the party released its own, stating that Montana has served the MK Party with steadfast objectivity. Another MK going home. Yep, yeah, big whoop. It's not a party as much as it's a vanity project and a money laundering scheme. Yep. Former boss of SSA, Tulani Delomo, is and co-accused arrested on $12 million theft and fund charges. Wow, look, more corruption in the ANC government. You can't make this stuff up, folks. Here. So, Donald Trump said bad things are happening in South Africa. Guess what? Bad things are happening in South Africa. The former head of the state security agency has now been arrested for corruption and fraud. The people in charge of spying can't even be trusted. My goodness. Former head of state security counterintelligence structures Tulani Dolomo and former project manager Patrick Mashontola have been arrested on charges relating to misappropriation of state funds. They appeared before the Pretoria Specialized Commercial Crime Court on Monday after being apprehended Sunday by the investigating directorate against crime. They face charge of theft, fraud, forgery, and uttering amounting to approximately 12 million rand, Conditions include starting their travel documents state, not interfering with state witnesses, reporting to respective police stations every Friday between 8 and 4, and they're prohibited from disposing of their immovable properties. But why aren't they remanded? The people who were recruiting people to go to Russia were remanded without bail. Why aren't they remanded? Because he's connected. He's connected. All the dirty dishwater and the laundry is coming out with the ANC now. The corruption, every day, folks, I could sit here and just do corruption watch. All I have to do is do a video every day of cases of corruption. Just do one video, cases of corruption. And that would give my channel purpose in life. That's all I'd be covering in South Africa. It's unbelievable. Well, major blow for those who pay the overpriced DSTV. Time Warner, well now Warner Brothers Discovery, will be ending its agreement with them. So you're going to lose a lot of shows that you used to enjoy. Negotiations are ongoing, but they warn no agreement has been reached. And if they don't fix it from January 1st, a significant blow to MultiChoice's channel, and with several other channels already confirmed to be shutting down at the end of the year. Paramount Africa will be shutting down BET Africa and MTV Base, and that the channels will be discontinued on DSTV and GoTV from January 1st. MultiChoice says that customers will still be able to access other international channels from Paramount, including Nickelodeon, Nicktoons, Nick Jr., Comedy Central, and MTV. In addition, CBS's AMC networks will be shutting down CBS Reality and CBS Justice on 31 December. With the announcement, 12 more channels also now face the chop. Discovery, CNN, The Learning Channel, Discovery Family, Real Time, TNT Africa, Food Network, HGTV, Investigation Discovery, Cartoon Network, Cartoonito, and the Travel Channel all would disappear. Wow. Now, why is this? MultiChoice said subscribers can look forward to an expanded lineup next year because the Canal Plus buyout, now Canal Plus, the European media company, owns MultiChoice. So are you still going to get value for money? I doubt it. South Africa's biggest mall goes from zero to hero, according to Business Tech. That's right, Four Ways Mall, a massive structure, is showing signs of life, with South Africa's largest mall starting to see a turnaround in several key operating metrics. Four Ways' largest mall in South Africa is sitting at 172,202 square meters. However, the mall has recently faced significant challenges following a major revamp, primarily due to a high number of vacancies. And I can attest there are plenty of vacancies at that mall. Indeed, folks. Amid the struggles, part owner Accelerate agreed to invest $400 million in upgrading it in 2024. Property experts and also took over as the mall manager. Four Ways has seen its vacancy rate drop from 17 to 18% to just 10.7%. The mall saw 10,544 square meters of vacancy space filled with new leases and 17,182 of renewals. So, looking good. Oh, is Walmart going in there? Walmart's in Four Ways. Look at that. Now Walmart is in Four Ways. Other email retailers that recently joined them all include Planet Fitness, Spur, African Bank, and many, many more. Cool. Wow. On November 28th, Walmart opened its second store in South Africa at Four Ways Mall, following the launch in Clearwater Mall. But that branding doesn't have a little yellow symbol. Why not? Why does Walmart not have that little yellow symbol? Yep, it's open on November 28th. Adolf Hitler has won his 5th consecutive election in Namibia. No, not the German Nazi, but the gentleman unfortunately named by his father who didn't realize Adolf Hitler was a fascist dictator. There he is, a man who never met a buffet he couldn't push away. Long-serving Namibian counselor spent years explaining why he shares a name with Adolf Hitler, says he's finally cutting ties with a notorious middle name after winning re-election. Adolf Hitler Unona has again retained his seat as a regional counselor, where he served since 2004. He's distanced himself from the dictator, and now he's going to be known simply as Adolf Unona. Well, there you go. Smart move. Should have done it 20 years ago, buddy. Well, the Daily Maverick claims that elephant hunting in neighboring Botswana is unsustainable owing to additional poaching. When poaching amplifies the effect of higher hunting quotas, it is bad news for the future of Botswana's elephant population and its contribution to the economy, according to research just in. People have continually talking about, hunting elephants is bad news in Botswana, but the elephants run rampages because there's simply too many of them. The largest collection of African elephants anywhere in the world is in Botswana. It's home to the largest remaining population of African elephants, is losing its most valuable wildlife asset at a rate far higher than officials acknowledge, according to a major news report released by Elephants Without Borders. But I've dealt with Elephants Without Borders before, and they get a little hyperbolic at times. They do some good work, but they get a little hyperbolic. Combined with an aggressive trophy hunting quota and rising mortality from hunting, drought, and human-elephant conflict, the country's elephant management system is entering what researchers describe as a dangerous period of biological and economic fragility. Entering this period. They're saying that hunting quotas are high, population has no buffer to absorb spikes in poaching or drought mortality. Even minimal poaching deeply depresses trophy size. A decade-long poaching outbreak of around 500 elephants a year reduces the trophy size for up to 50 years. But Botswana has hundreds of thousands of elephants, and 500 poached elephants are going to cause a collapse in the population. It just doesn't seem plausible. Ebola outbreak in the Congo has been declared over by health officials. The Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo is now over. Congolese health officials announced on Monday after the country went 42 consecutive days without recording a new case. The outbreak, declared back on the 4th of September, was identified in the Bulape health zone in the Kasai province. Out of 64 cases, 45 people died, 19 others recovered. That's not bad. Humans are learning to adapt to Ebola. We saw that in the Mano River region outbreak in West Africa, where the mortality rate had gone from 90% down to 30 to 40%. Sudan is offering Russia its first naval base in Africa. Red Sea port would give Moscow a vital edge in the strategic waters. Look at that. Sudan, a rogue nation. Sudan's military government has offered Russia what would be its first naval base in Africa, an unprecedented perch overlooking critical Red Sea trade routes. If the deal happens, it would be a strategic advance from Moscow. A 25-year proposal presented to Russian officials in October. Moscow have the right to station up to 300 troops and dock as many as 4 warships, including nuclear-powered ones, at Port Sudan. And there you go. Or another yet-to-be-named Red Sea facility. They also get the inside track and lucrative mining concessions in Sudan, the 3rd largest gold producer in Africa. Well, good luck with that. They don't have much in the way of a navy, so they can't support that very well from as far away as they are. More than 1,600 people have fled Sudan's South Kordofan in a single day. Sudanese flee Kurtala as the rebel RSF attacks escalate, driving mass displacement across Sudan. More than 1,600 civilians fled the town of Kurtala in South Kordofan in a single day as insecurity escalated alongside rising abuses by the paramilitary rapid support forces, according to the International Organization for Migration. That's not good. Cameroonian opposition figure Ekane has died in detention. Aniset Ekane, opposition leader, died in detention following his arrest during post-election demonstrations, sparking political tensions. Essential medical equipment was withheld, with this party accusing authorities of human rights violations, program killing. The 74-year-old leader of the African Movement for the New Independence and Democracy, Manidem, was arrested October 24th following post-election demonstrations, what his party described as a kidnapping by Cameroonian soldiers. He was being held on charges of hostility against the state, incitement to revolt, and calls for insurrection, accusations he denied. His death and detention could heighten tensions in the Central African nation, where security forces killed 48 civilians as they responded to protests against the re-election of President Paul Biya, the world's oldest ruler at 92 years of age, who's led that country since 1982. Wow. Disaster in Sri Lanka, folks, where the death toll continues to mount. Now 350 people confirmed dead. The country's president said the nationwide flooding after the storm last week was the most challenging natural disaster in the island nation's history. In 2024, the island nation of 22 million was trying to wind down a decades-long civil war. The Indian Ocean tsunami killed tens of thousands, caused billions of dollars in damages. In recent years, they've faced terrorist attacks, COVID pandemic, and man-made economic collapse that saw food and fuel supplies drop. Late last week, Cyclone Ditwa landed, unleashing a wave of flooding and landslides across the country, submerging entire towns. On Monday, the death toll climbed past 350. Hundreds were missing and tens of thousands of people were displaced. The estimated scale of destruction is severe. Wow. It's a Pakistan Navy helicopter airlifting people. More than 15,000 homes have been destroyed according to UN assessment. Man. Not to mention all the disease that's going to come from this. Insane. Of course, it's all climate change. Say the people who only have a few hundred years of recorded history. Climate change. I'm sure that's what they'll blame. Bangladesh's former leader, Hasina, and her British lawmaker niece have both been found guilty of corruption. A court in Bangladesh's capital sentenced ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to 5 years in prison and her niece, British Labour Party lawmaker Tulip Siddiq, to 2 years in prison on Monday for corruption involving a government land project. Rabul Alam, the judge of Dhaka Special Judges Court, said Hasina misused her power as Prime Minister, while Siddiq was guilty of corruptly influencing her aunt to helping her mother and two siblings get a land plot in a government project. The judge also fined them each $812 in order to cancellation of the allotted plot, and there were 14 other suspects. Wow. A member of parliament there in the UK. Bangladesh. Bad things happening in Dhaka, apparently. Airbus says that the solar radiation software flaw has been fixed on most of the A320s. Airlines across Europe, Middle East, and Asia, and North America have spent the past week grounding aircraft. Airbus announced December 1st that it has modified most of the 6,000 A320 family aircraft affected by a mandatory global software update, a fix prompted by an in-flight incident last month that investigators linked to corrupted flight control data. The European planemaker reported that the vast majority of aircraft have received the required changes, leaving fewer than 100 still awaiting updates. We're working with airline customers to support the modification of less than 100 remaining aircraft to ensure they can be returned to service. The update follows a software flaw discovered in a mid-air incident on October 30th when a JetBlue Airways in the U.S. suffered a sudden, uncommanded drop in altitude. The incident during the flight from Cancun to Newark was linked to corrupted flight control data, possibly triggered by intense solar radiation. So now solar storms are shutting off our software? How the hell does that happen? How do you protect software code from solar radiation? I get physical things, but software? Ukraine, the territory is the biggest challenge in the talks, says Volodymyr Zelensky, the grifter-in-chief. The Ukrainian president said territorial integrity is the biggest challenge in peace talks after meeting with his French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron, when he wasn't busy being slapped by his wife. Steve Witkoff to meet with Vladimir Putin in Moscow tomorrow. Special envoy's trips follows talks between Washington and Kiev in Florida over the weekend. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is scheduled to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow tomorrow. The meeting with Witkoff is indeed planned for tomorrow. He himself mentioned this yesterday, said Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov. So, there you go. Yeah, I smell Airbus bullshit too, Arctic. Something fishy going on there. Honduras is voting, or has voted, in a presidential election. They cast their ballots on Sunday. The race was tense even before President Trump got involved, endorsing one of the right-wing candidates. And at this hour, that right-wing candidate is leading in the election. Presidential election knife edge finished with Nasri Tito Asfira narrowly leading the center-right candidate with 55 of votes counted. Conservative National Party candidate backed by U.S. President Trump is ahead. The 67-year-old has captured 40% of the votes so far, just ahead in this race. So we're still counting votes in Honduras. Meanwhile, American consumers are fed up with high car prices, and I, for one, am one of those people. Absolutely. Absolutely. Shoppers are downsizing, buying used vehicles, taking on longer car loans, and holding out. Well, that's a CPU. That's not a software issue. That's all the software runs CPUs. That's I'm asking. CPU I get. They can be affected by solar radiation, but how does software get affected by it? Shoppers are downsizing, buying used vehicles, and taking on longer loans and holding out for deals. Yep, I'm holding out for a deal. For years, it seemed no sticker price was too high for American car buyers. Well, not for me. I've always had price points. Even as the average car price approached $50,000 this year. Dealers fretted more over depleted inventories than losing customers to sticker shock. But that's over. Sticker shock is finally hitting people. Yeah, sticker shock hit me a long time ago, folks. I'm not paying $70,000 for a vehicle. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Tariffs, persistent inflation, and tighter job market have made Americans rethink their biggest ticket purchases, while the collapse of the U.S. electric vehicle market, hastened by the end of the federal government's $7,500 credit, has cost the industry hundreds of thousands of potential vehicle sales. Indeed, who wants an electric car that only goes a couple hundred miles? It costs you a fortune to recharge. Patriotic vibes and tariff fears fuel an uptick in made in USA shopping this holiday season. Shoppers are more likely to buy American-made products than last season, the top U.S. manufacturing group says, pointing to Trump's tariffs and patriotic fervor. Recent polling from the Alliance for American Manufacturing found 50% of Americans are more inclined to look for made in USA gifts this year. Cool. The uptick may also be an extension of the tone set by Trump's America First agenda, or a look ahead to the country's 250th birthday next year. Some shoppers also view Made in America as a better deal than in the past, mostly because of tariffs. Perhaps. No, Airbus is not better than Boeing. Airbus has a couple good aircraft, but most of their aircraft aren't that great. Trump says there will be no asylum for certain countries for a very long time. Not going to happen. He's indicated that he would try to denaturalize the citizenship of some people if he had the power to do so. Yep, we have criminals that came to our country and they were naturalized maybe through Biden or somebody that didn't know what they were doing. If I have the power to do it, I'm not sure that I do, but if I do, I would denaturalize them absolutely. I don't think he has the power, and I don't think he thinks he has the power. So, multiple failures in the vetting process of Afghans, according to Tom Homan, the border czar. An audit of 88,977 Afghan evacuees found that more than 11,000 fraudulently claimed that their birth date was January 1st. 11,000. 11,000 out of 87,000. So if you take, it's 89,000. 89,000. Let's just do the math on that. Calculate. All things being equal, 89,000 divided by 365 days. That means about 243 people per day should have a birthday, not 11,000. And an average, you take every day of the year, just divide it out, 89,000 by 365 days. That means 244 people per day, not 11,000. You see the level of fraud that was committed against this country by the Biden regime? Yep. There's been a massive failure in the vetting process that allowed Afghan nationals to enter the United States under the Biden regime, borders all, Tom Homan said. When the United States withdrew from Afghanistan, the Biden regime initiated Operation Allies Welcome to resettle thousands of Afghan nationals in America. It's the biggest national security failure in the history of our nation, Tom Homan said. People don't understand, in these third world nations, they don't have systems like we do. So a lot of these Afghans who did get here to get better, they had no identification at all. Not a single travel document, not one piece of identification. And we're going to count on the people that run Afghanistan, the Taliban, to provide us information on who the bad guys were and who the good guys are? Certainly not. Yep. More than 190,000 Afghan nationals were resettled in the United States as part of the effort. I said 168,000 in 3 weeks, so my number was pretty damn accurate. Remember I said that? In 3 weeks, when they evacuated these people and brought them into our country without vetting, without documentation, I said 168,000. Well, they're saying 190,000 total over the course of this program. A 2022 report from the Department of Homeland Security's office mentioned by Homan in the interview said that the Biden-era DHS failed to fully vet 80,000 that were allowed in the country. So that's a 2022 report. Who was president in 2022? Joe Biden was president in 2022, a year after he allowed this invasion to occur. An audit of 88,977 if inspected by authorities, found 11,000 recorded their birth date as January 1st. More than 36,000 records listed facilitation document, in other words, no travel document, as the travel document. And the Customs and Border Protection was unable to define what the facilitation document was. In other words, just had a piece of paper. Wow. My goodness, this is insane. Wow. They let our country be invaded. Now, here's a little bit concerning thing that's taking place, folks. The Transportation Safety Administration will now let people without real ID fly. What the hell is this? They're trying to make money? TSA to charge $45 fee for airline passengers who lack real ID. Up until now, you could not get into... So I cannot... Whoops, there goes my sticks with Monty and Steve Hofmeyer. Put that here. So up until now, I have been unable to travel on my driver's license because my driver's license is not real ID. Not for real ID purposes. It says right on it at the top here, not for real ID purpose. This is not real ID. Now, I can get a real ID that has the biometric information in it, but I don't want that. That's another document be stolen and my identity stolen. This one here doesn't have biometric data in it, so it's not for that. So you cannot travel on an airline in America unless you have real ID, which has biometric data. Now, the Transportation Safety Administration is going to let people travel without real ID. What the hell is this? I don't like this. They announced a $45 fee to temporarily verify identities of airline passengers who lack real ID. Why? They'll be pushed to pay the fee before they arrive at the airport and bring the receipt with them. Then they can get in the regular checkpoint line with passengers who have compliant ID. Those who lack real ID and don't pay the fee to get pre-clearance can be blocked from getting through the checkpoint. TSA Acting Commissioner Ha Nguyen McNeil, seriously, Ha Nguyen McNeil, so some white guy married a Vietnamese lady, said 94% of the travelers right now do have compliant. How can it be 94? It has to be 100%. She said real ID is intended to keep bad actors and illegal immigrants from boarding flights. The verification is good for a 10-day period. $45 fee is higher than TSA had indicated less than 2 weeks ago. They reassessed its costs of the program. Payment can be made at pay.gov. Real ID is a federal law passed in the wake of 2001 terrorist attacks. The 9/11 Commission recommended heightened ID standards for some after the hijackers boarded planes using identification cards that lacked verification legal status. The law had included a 2008 deadline for travelers to have compliant identification. Administrations, Republican and Democrat, have delayed the deadline under pressure from states and travelers who complained about the hassle. The new Trump administration finally began what it called full enforcement on May 7th, but now we're going to let people come on without real ID. I don't understand this. I have to pay money for real ID. Other people do. So why are we doing this nonsense? Real ID. That's insane. 2008 was compliance. It's now 2025. That's 17 years ago. People were supposed to be compliant, and they're not. House Speaker Mike Johnson and President Donald Trump are weighing in to save a House seat in Tennessee. Speaker Johnson put the president on speakerphone during a Monday trip to the state, underscoring the unusual amount of national attention on the House special election. The crowd milling around the sleek multi-million-dollar barn full of gleaming vintage cars was already a snapshot of the Republican elite in Tennessee. There are other donors, state representatives, 5 members of Congress, the governor, and a candidate for the state's special election on Tuesday, Matt Van Epps. Then Speaker Johnson, who flew in from Washington, called Mr. Trump and put him on a speaker. The whole world is watching Tennessee right now, and they're watching your district, Trump said. You've got to show that the Republican Party is stronger than it's ever been. So Epps is running against State Representative Afton Bain, a Nashville Democrat who's energized many of the party despite a political record perceived by some as too liberal for Tennessee. I thought Tennessee was deep red. How did that happen? Mr. Johnson said of Ms. Bean, calling her a dangerous far leftist. It would be a rubber stamp for Hakeem Jeffries. This is an important race. Cannot afford to lose it. Mr. Epps last week was only beating her by 2 percentage points in the poll. Republicans cannot afford to lose that seat. Lawmakers are looking for a full accounting of the boat blow-up situation after the Pentagon report on follow-on strike that alleged drug boat. This is the second strike when apparently there were survivors that were obliterated. Key congressional lawmakers say they expect a full accounting from the Pentagon after reports that military commanders ordered a second strike on an alleged drug boat in the Caribbean after 2 people survived the initial attack. A second or follow-on strike against the alleged drug-carrying vessel would raise significant questions. Initial strikes surely would have stopped the boat from moving drugs to American shores, which is a publicly stated goal. At least one other instance, U.S. picked up 2 survivors of an American military strike and alleged drug boat and repatriated to their home countries. Unclear why that wouldn't have been done during the September 2nd strike. And they're baying for blood. They want to call Pete Hegseth a war criminal, although he didn't order the strike, apparently. Infant botulism outbreak is expanded 37 cases in 17 states. My goodness. What are we, South Africa now? Federal officials said an outbreak of infant botulism linked to a recalled baby formula, probably made in China, has expanded to more states. In an update on November 26th, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said that 6 new cases reported in 2 more states since the last update. My goodness. ByHeart, which recalled all its baby formulas last month, said its most recent update of testing suggests it cannot rule out risk that all ByHeart formula across the product lots may be contaminated. They had positive test results for Clostridium botulinum type A. My goodness. That's just crazy. Trump, former lawyer here, appeals court disqualifies Alina Habba, Trump's U.S. attorney in New Jersey. Federal appeals court Monday said that Alina Habba, President Trump's chief prosecutor in New Jersey, was improperly installed in her post and is disqualified from a prosecution against 2 defendants. Circuit Judge Fisher, writing for the 3-judge panel, said the law has a specific system for filling vacancies in the U.S. Attorney Office, and Trump and Attorney General Pamela Bondi broke their rules in their attempt to shoehorn her in as acting U.S. attorney. She was his personal lawyer. And I guess they say that's against the law. New York City will now get 3 major casinos. Look at this. As soon as the Muslim in chief becomes the mayor of New York City, now they get gambling? Now they get gambling? What the hell's going on here? What the hell? Mets owner Steve Cohen among those awarded a license to operate a casino in the city, in the Big Apple. New York will get 3 mega casinos after a state commission awarded licenses to Mets owner Steve Cohen and 2 others. Proposals to open glitzy gambling part of the city that has been largely off limits. Cohen, the billionaire investor in Hard Rock, have proposed building a casino next to the Mets City Field in Queens. They have estimated spending $8 billion on the project, which would include a hotel, concert venue, and connect with the future site of New York City Football Club Stadium. None of the new blackjack tables will be in Manhattan after earlier ideas to put casinos in the middle of Times Square or atop Saks Fifth Avenue flagship store were dropped. The other 2 projects are proposed by Bally's to spend $4 billion to develop a casino next to its golf course in the Bronx, and a proposal by Genting Group, which owns Resorts World New York City, at a racetrack in Queens, to spend $5.5 billion to expand a location focused on slots. So that's $9.5 and $8 is $13.5 billion to spend on casinos. But we have homeless in New York. Luis Mangione, the lunatic who murdered a government executive, has got a fan following. He arrived in New York City for a pivotal hearing wearing cuffs and a dapper suit as crazed fans line up a twisted show of support. Accused Ivy League assassin Luigi Mangione arrived in Manhattan looking preppy and furiously scribbling notes during a key pretrial evidence hearing in his murder case. The 27-year-old former prep school scholar, dressed in gray and suit jacket over a white and red checkered collared shirt, was led into the room through a side door. And then these lunatics followed him in. Look at these free Luigi. Sick people. Look up, not left or right. Jeez. A political pawn. The man murdered somebody. How is he a political pawn? These people are lunatics. Look at them camping outside the courthouse in below freezing temperature. This is insane. New York City woman Jasmine Flores holding a sign calling for Mangione to be allowed to have a laptop while in jail. Not guilty. Not guilty? He murdered someone. Unbelievable. So these people excuse murder because they don't like the insurance market. This is how crazy the world is. Speaking of the fascist Islamist in chief, Mayor-elect Mamdani appoints author of The End of Policing to transition. So this guy who promised to secure the city is going to end policing. New York City's incoming Democratic Socialist Mayor Zohrani Mamdani, the communist fascist Islamist, has chosen his transition team a sociology professor at Brooklyn College who wrote a book about ending policing. I'm excited to announce that I've been asked to join the Mamdani transition team to work on community safety issues. A new era for New York City, says Alex Vitale. Alex Vitale. Insane. A person that says a new era when you're going to just let the city be run by murderers. It's crazy. 9 Army posts will be used to test miniature nuclear reactors as opposed to small modular reactors. Fort Bragg, North Carolina, got the proper name back. 9 Army posts will take part in an initiative to deploy micro-nuclear reactors on military bases to provide energy independent of the local power grid. The micro-reactor power plants represent a significant technological advancement, safety, security, and waste management, which is what I've been telling people for the last 6 years. The 9 bases participating in a project include Fort Bragg, Fort Campbell. Other places include Fort Benning, Fort Hood, and Fort Wainwright, Alaska. There you go. So this will make them independent and cut massive cost once they're put in place. An irate passenger went off on aircrew. Yep, on a United Airlines flight to Newark, cursing an attendant, saying "effing C blank TS." This potty mouth passenger took a stand and lost her seat. United Airlines passenger's meltdown went viral after the irate woman lobbed a few choice words at a poised flight attendant during a delay on the tarmac. A fellow traveler captured the woman's entire tirade, which quickly garnered 500,000 views on TikTok since it was posted back on November 10th. And here it is. This woman went absolutely nuts on my flight, and we had to return back. Haley Rose is the one who put it up. How long is this?
I'm getting up. Yeah, I'm allowed to stand up. When you keep us on the tarmac for an hour, yeah, I'm allowed to stand up. Not a problem. Yeah, no, not a problem at all. Yeah, really not a problem for me to want to fucking stand. Fucking cunts.
Oops, I heard that.
Ah, yes.
Oh, here it is. That's why it's over here still. I was wondering why it was playing there. Here we go. Let's play it here. That's the one right there.
I'm getting up. Yeah, I'm allowed to stand up. When you keep us on the tarmac for an hour, yeah, I'm allowed to stand up. Not a problem. Yeah, no, not a problem at all. Yeah, really not a problem for me to want to fucking stand. Fucking cunts.
Ah, yes,
Well, I couldn't hear it. I don't know if you guys could hear it. It didn't do anything for me. So, anyway. And that's the news for today, folks. Be sure to hit the like button. The 369 of you who are here, really appreciate that. Also, watch my content. I had a few videos produced last night. By the way, Steve Hofmeyer was 4,400 live, and then I refreshed the page on my main page. It said 4,600, and about 20 minutes later, it said 4,500. How is that possible? The same metric had a lower view count than what I've seen before. You know, I can understand a mistake initially, but going back and changing it after the fact, let's see what it says now. Oh, it's at 5,000 now. Okay, so must have just been a glitch. Must have been a glitch. 5,000 to watch that. But my videos that I did, doing okay. Well, South African refugees leave for America before Christmas. That one about 5,000. And then I did South Africa's bold move against the U.S. That one has 39,700. Got me 47 new subscribers. Thank you for that. Still doing well at this hour. Getting about 2,000 views per hour. That's pretty nice at this hour of the day. Hopefully it'll keep going. But we're not getting new subscribers. YouTube is not promoting this to new subscribers, mostly existing subscribers, but thank you for being loyal. And I did the one, yes, Cyril, the bad things are happening about the farm murders, and that one's at 22,700. So thank you for that. Yeah, that woman definitely a Karen on the flight. Is still Islam versus Christianity, Jews, Hindu, Buddhism. Who gives these people a right to hunt? Look at Europe and England. Tell me Robinson the rules. Bacon, anyone, says Richard. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, Richard. Oh my goodness. Anyway. Yeah. I got your videos in my video queue for the evening. Okay, cool, Werner. Thank you so much for the news. I'm off to bed early. Okay. I've still got a lot of work to do. I've got to type up some more notes, and then I've got to go do a briefing. Americans get crazy. Oh, everybody gets crazy when they travel Utopia. Yes, I've seen everyone from around the world get crazy. I mean, look at Nobbs and Kesey. News. Good afternoon. What a potty mouth. Yeah, she did have potty mouth. Yeah, Nobbs case very similar. Yeah, probably had too much to drink. Buy Heart Baby formula made in Pennsylvania, Oregon, Iowa. Company controls formula from farmer production. Well, there you go, Chugsy. So there's no Chinese involvement whatsoever. So Americans are poisoning Americans. That's not good. That's not good. Usually it's Chinese doing it. Karen Levin confirms referee program staff is not on hold. Well, who said it was on hold? Did that just happen today? Len USA, please tell me that. It's not on hold. Why do people think it's on hold? Where's that coming from? Where's that coming from? Oh, there we go.
Of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor
Go ahead,
Greene's early resignation. Reports last week indicated that other House Republicans might consider doing the same. Does the president have any concerns in light of those reports about other House Republicans potentially leaving early, as well as the other announced retirements that we saw in the last couple of days?
Look, I think the president maintains of Republicans continue to support President Trump as the leader. So he maintains very good relations, as does his entire team here at the White House. And of course, we have a very slim margin in the House, and the president wants that to continue. Andrew, go ahead. Sure.
First, on the Venezuela strike, you said that second strike was in full accordance with the law of armed conflict, but the Navy's own manual of law of war says that specifically firing on survivors from a wrecked vessel is an example of a war crime that's forbidden under U.S. law and the law of armed conflict. So was that second strike in following law of armed conflict and then second on immigration?
Again, Andrew, I would reiterate to you the strike was conducted in international waters and in accordance with the law of armed conflict. And since somebody asked about Congress, and it's sort of related to Venezuela, I also want to add that Secretary Hegseth spoke with members of Congress who may have expressed some concerns over the weekend. And there have also been 13 bipartisan briefings to Congress on the Venezuela.
Airbus has always been a problem. Remember when their landing gear wouldn't retract or extend? I was on a flight where the landing gear wouldn't retract, and we had to dump fuel over the Atlantic coming from Lisbon, and we went back to Lisbon and landed so that the landing gear wouldn't freeze and break off. Every fire vehicle at the Lisbon airport and in the surrounding area was on the airfield. It was like crazy. It was like coming in to not Lethal Weapon. What's the one? The holiday, the Die Hard. It was like Die Hard 2, coming into Die Hard 2, landing at remember that Die Hard 2 and all the fire trucks out there at the end of that show? It was like that. It was crazy. That's the one time I got to pull the chute and was going to slide down, but they didn't let us go because the brakes were igniting. Yeah, Airbus has had lots of problems, but they covered up very well.
War-torn places who are seeking a safe haven in America, like many of our forebears in this room, not add to our nation's integrity and character of our national identity?
I'll tell you what does not add to our nation's character and integrity is refugees who come here under the alleged plight of asylum and fleeing persecution, and then come to the United States to abuse our system and rip off American taxpayers. And as I pointed out, the New York Times, to their credit, it was about 6 months too late, but they did write about how Somali immigrants in Minnesota have been ripping off American taxpayers. In fact, 86 people have been charged in a rampant and widespread fraud scheme spanning multiple programs in Minnesota. Of those 86, 78 of those people are Somali, 91% of them charged. So far, 59 of those people have been convicted for their roles in fraud plots that have stolen $1 billion from taxpayers. In one scheme, and this is egregious, a nonprofit and its affiliates with these Somali migrants claimed to have fed tens of thousands of American children during the pandemic. They were reimbursed for those meals by taxpayers. However, federal prosecutors found that almost all of those meals were never even delivered to hungry children. In fact, those organizations' leaders spent the money on houses, luxury cars, and real estate in Turkey and Kenya. Another scheme involved hundreds of organizations who were reimbursed for services that were supposed to help people at risk of homelessness. Once again, those services were never provided. All of this has happened under Democrat leadership in a Democrat-run state where these refugees, these migrants are coming to the United States. They are abusing our system. They are draining our resources that should be going to law-abiding, taxpayer-funded, tax-paying Americans. And this president is not going to put up with it anymore.
Yep, here.
Thank you, Caroline. Just to follow back up on the Washington Post reporting, so much of the concern from Democrats and Republicans is focused on the survivors. Why won't the administration either confirm or deny or reveal whether or not there were survivors after that initial first strike? And what imminent threat would two survivors pose who were clinging presumably to the wreckage of that boat?
Again, as I said, I think you guys are sort of not listening fully to the statement I've provided. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law directing the engagement to ensure the boat was totally destroyed and the threat to the narco-terrorists, to the United States, was eliminated. And for any further questions about his thinking, I would defer you to the Department of War. I obviously wasn't in the room for these.
Just to follow up, Caroline, just on the administration's policy when it comes to survivors, was there a change in policy after this strike on September 2nd? The Washington Post is reporting that these 2 survivors were killed after a second strike, but then in October, 2 people were rescued.
340 is a
returned
good
to
aircraft.
Colombia and Ecuador. So was there a decision that was made to handle survivors differently after these strikes?
Not to my knowledge, no. Steve.
The president confirmed that he spoke to the Venezuelan leader. Are you trying to negotiate his departure? Is there an asylum deal under work?
President, as you know, last night on Air Force One, he said, I don't want to comment on that, but I did speak to him in the effort of transparency. So there you go. You got your confirmation. I'll let him speak further.
You did, Shawnee. It's the beginning.
The details of that conversation that took place.
Witkoff is headed to Moscow. How close are you to some sort of Ukraine agreement?
I think the administration feels very optimistic. Obviously, you've seen, Steve, that the president's entire team, including Special Envoy Witkoff and Secretary Rubio and the Vice President and the President himself, Secretary Hegseth as well, have been working so hard on this effort, and they all really want to see this war come to an end. And so just yesterday, Sunday, I believe that was yesterday, they had very good talks with the Ukrainians in Florida, and now, of course, Special Envoy Witkoff is on his way to Russia. This is sort of the shuttle diplomacy that you've seen from this administration play out, where we speak equally with both sides. We've put points on paper. Those points have been very much refined, but as for the details, I will let the negotiators negotiate, but we do feel quite good, and we're hopeful that this war can finally come to an end. Stephen.
Thank you, Caroline. I've got a question about Ukraine and then a clarification about the immigration changes that are happening. On Ukraine, President Trump very briefly yesterday said that corruption issues there were not helpful to the peace process following the resignation on Friday of President Zelensky's top aide, Andrei Yermak. We were told from your podium in the prior administration that, quote, there is no indication that there's been any kind of widespread corruption involving U.S. resources.
It's because they lied.
What is the Trump administration's view of corruption issues in the wake of Yermak's resignation, and how is that impacting peace talks?
Well, look, I think the president has made it quite clear, as he said last night, corruption is never helpful. And he does not want to see American tax dollars taken advantage of, which is why he has stopped the endless checks that were being written by the previous administration to fund this war. The United States is selling weapons to NATO that are being sent to Ukraine. That's a very different thing than the American people writing blank checks to a war effort very far away. It does not degrade the administration's determination to see this war come to an end, but I think it exemplifies the president's desire to always put the American people and the American taxpayer first.
On immigration, you mentioned, or you emphasized that there would be a review of the Afghans who were resettled here under the previous administration.
Yes.
There's a lot of changes happening right now to asylum and to green card holders. What should the 2 million people with pending asylum claims, or the roughly 1 million people from the 18 other countries of concern, know about what's going on in the review? What's the status of all these other people?
They're essentially paused for review, and the Department of Homeland Security is taking this very seriously, because we are not going to allow soldiers like we saw in American streets last week to be gunned down at the hands of these foreign nationals who had the privilege of coming to the United States of America. And unfortunately, this is not the only example of a dangerous Afghan who was let in by Joe Biden, who went on to harm the American people. There was an Afghan national who was let into the country under the Biden administration through Operation Allies Welcome, who shot and wounded 2 Fairfax, Virginia police officers during a routine traffic stop.
Yep,
he was
just
killed
recently.
by return fire after declaring, quote, "I should have served with the explicitive Taliban." 2 Afghan nationals were given legal status by the Biden administration as well, who were arrested and prosecuted for plotting a terrorist attack in Oklahoma just before Election Day in 2024. We all remember that. They possessed hundreds of rounds of ammunition and had pledged their allegiance to ISIS. There was also an Afghan national who was on the terror watch list, who was apprehended by Border Patrol in 2024, but then he was released into our country by the Biden administration. Again,
on a terror watch
let's just
list.
highlight the absurdity of that. Border Patrol apprehended a terrorist, and then the Biden administration,
Let him
because
go.
of their lax policies, still allowed him to come into the United States of America. I think everyone in this room, whether you want to admit it or not, does not want that individual living alongside you in your American neighborhood. And that individual was later arrested again after being allowed to live in the U.S. at large for over a year. Another one, a criminal illegal alien from Afghanistan, was arrested by ICE in 2025, convicted of second-degree assault, was previously allowed to stay in the country by the Biden administration. I have several more examples here. I'm happy to provide them to anyone in this room. John.
Thank you, Caroline. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to
Thank you.
and your young family. Hope you enjoyed it. I have two questions unrelated. The first, back to Afghanistan. My son and I walked by the horrific shooting less than 1 hour before it happened. So for anybody that's here, this thing's real. You outlined all of these unvetted Afghans that were let in by Biden. We just had one the other day that was going to blow up a DHS building. Can you be specific on what the Trump administration is doing now to re-vet those that are here so that we don't get a repeat of what we had Wednesday night?
Sure. I can tell you two top-level things, and I would defer you to DHS for more of the specifics, as of course they are leading this effort, and I can assure you Secretary Noem is on the ball. I've spoken with her and her team, and they have an all-hands-on-deck effort to having resources go towards this. But we have paused all asylum adjudications, and then of course the special immigrant visas, which we know many Afghans utilize to come into the country under the Biden administration, have also now been paused. And I would just point out one more time that the Biden administration was responsible for the original sin that led to this tragic killing last week, the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. He was responsible for Operation Allies Welcome, which is something that this White House and the people behind this podium in the last administration fully and wholeheartedly embraced. And they assured the American people there would be no risk or no harm to them. And as I just laid out for you in those many examples, that unfortunately and tragically has not turned out to be the truth. Just ask the families of these two brave National Guardsmen, one who is no longer with us and one who continues to fight for his life. So I know the president is wholeheartedly focused on this effort, and I think unfortunately these events do remind us why it's so important that the president's mass deportation operation continues. With that,
follow up.
She was going to wrap it up.
Today launched a new fake news portal, which I found interesting. What is your objective with that, ultimately? And are you going to name the news networks? And are you also going to name some of the correspondents, which may be here today?
Yes, we are. I'm glad you noticed. Much to the dismay of some of your colleagues in the room, John. And I think it goes to our original promise on day one to hold the media accountable, because unfortunately, and we deal with this all day, every day around here, there are so many fake stories that are unfortunately written that have inaccurate characterizations of meetings that took place, and it's all based on anonymous sourcing. And you know, the standard for journalism, unfortunately, has dropped to such a historic low in this country. And again, we deal with it every day, where you can have an anonymous source who has no idea what they're talking about, zero credibility, call up a reporter in Washington and say, hey, I heard this, and then the next thing you know, it's on the front page of the New York Times. It's really incomprehensible. We appreciate the journalists, some of those who are in this room who do reach out for comment, who try to get things right, and there are some that remain. But overwhelmingly, the fake news that we see pumped out of this building on a day-to-day basis, it's honestly overwhelming to keep up with it all, and to constantly have to defend against these fake news and these attacks. And I will point out one fake news story over the weekend before I let you all go, from the New York Times that took about 1/3 of the president's daily calendar and his daily schedule and said that he's doing less than he did in his first term, or he might not be fit for the job. That is unequivocally false, and it's deeply unfortunate that this story was written by the same outlet and the same reporter who wrote this: Biden is doing 100% fine after tripping while boarding Air Force One. Oh, same outlet, same reporter who wrote that President Trump is not fit for the job. Are you kidding me? You all see him almost every single day. He is the most accessible president in history. He is taking meetings around the clock. Another one. Biden declared, quote, healthy and vigorous after his first presidential physical. I don't see headlines like that too often about this president. Again, same reporter, same outlet who wrote falsely over the weekend that President Trump is not fit for the job. I can assure you he absolutely is. You all see that with your own eyes on a daily basis, and the president's physician has now given you all 3 detailed reports on the state of the president's health. So with that, I will leave you all, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, so I'll download later on, and I'll pull that stuff up. So I'll get that up, and we'll deal with it. So yeah, Carolyn Levitt there just bringing down the hammer. Brilliant stuff on her part, and thanks for alerting me that she was live, because that's an unusual time. You know, she must come on after 1 o'clock to do this. Sorry, I'm trying to find the second camera and turn it off here. There it is. Okay, yeah. So Carolyn Levitt. Once that's done, I will go ahead and download that, and I'll pull those clips and make a video on that probably tonight. Yep. Mind you, why you don't let people in who aren't interested in assimilation. And Electron, thank you very much for the 70 Rand super chat. We weren't getting any in the stream, were we? Is that the first one? It might be. Thank you so much for that. And 1 new member, someone renewed. This should, okay. Yep. Alrighty, guys. Sounds like, yeah, she's much sharper than John Deere bottle brush. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Anyway, yeah, and somebody said, let's go, where's that at? Call me stupid, but it just clicked home. We are so rushed to get USCIS to approve us, but with these new developments, how much pressure must be on that department? We are selfish for being impatient. Indeed, people are selfish, and I've tried to tell people as politely as I can that they're being very self-centered, self-oriented, and selfish, because you are not the only show in town. South Africans are just one aspect of what the State Department, USCIS are doing. Now they have to revet 233,000 cases to the same standard they've been applying to the South African cases, which is much more strenuous than what was done by the Biden regime. Plus, they're pausing all asylum cases, and they're going to review the ones that are there. And now President Trump has also directed them to consider revoking the naturalization of people who defrauded the country. So in order to do that, you're going to have to prove who those people were. So they're very, very busy. And don't forget, they're all going on Christmas holidays. So thank you for that, lady J1116. You were spot on, and I appreciate you saying that. But people need to be aware of that. They just aren't cognizant of what's going on here. There is a lot in play. These people have a lot on their plates, folks. By the way, that last stream with Steve Hofmeyer, we had 4,400 watch it live. 760, I think, was the peak audience, or 770. And also, the average view time was 19 minutes and 45 seconds. That's insane. And put this in perspective, 4,400 people. That means that if you had 2,000 people that watched it for an hour and the other 2,000 people only popped in for a second left, then you would have 30 minutes. If some of those people stayed, see how you get the time cut in half because they don't spend the time. So in order to get 20 minutes of viewership, average viewer time, people hung around for a long time in that stream. We were always over 500 in that stream. Started at 300, quickly got to 500. I think we went to 700 for a long time. So, Philip, I don't know about Ilmar going home, but it'd be nice to see that. That would be so great to see her in Somalia. Stuck there. Trump must take Ramaphosa down now. I'm South African loving here still, but won't ever leave. But most of us are really hut full of this nonsense going. Yeah, well, it's not just Ramaphosa. It's the ANC. And at this stage, it's the Democratic Alliance, too, and the IFP. She is a machine, GCS fabrication. Missed the live stream, I'm afraid. Looking forward to watching it tomorrow. Okay, Freya. Well, it's up. It's up, and 5,000 people watch it now. So about 600 people since then. All right, thank you, Sonic Boom. I would not have known to look. Okay, let me see if I can find that real quick. Okay. Oh, okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you sharing that with me. Okay. Cool beans. That's not a correct spelling. There we go. Okay. Good to see that. Thank you for sharing that. Yep. That's cool. Congratulations on that information. So, yep. Yep. All right. I still haven't heard any update from Anna Kruger. Does anyone else have an update from Anna Kruger? Because I've not heard from her. And I've got one tick mark like her phone is turned off. Riffs Hards, 70 Rand super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Trump said last night on Air Force One he heard Omar married her brother. Yeah, I've heard that too, Philip. I've heard that too. But we have no evidence. That's been a story that's been going around for a decade. So, until somebody can produce evidence, it's just a story. Thank you for the super sticker. Best when they tried to corner Caroline and she actually has physical paperwork. Yeah, well, she's like me. Here are the receipts. I don't just make stuff up. I have receipts for you. That's that's one of the reasons why my video I think is doing well. The one I did last night about South Africa's bold move against the U.S. I mean, it's full of facts. And it's full of, showing the ANC and its misbehavior. So for those who didn't see it, this is it last night. I won't play all of it. I'll jump ahead a few times. But this is what I said in my video last night. Because I made this video, I went to bed at 3 a.m. and got up at 7. It was actually 4 o'clock, by 4:30 by the time I fell asleep. So this is what I said in that video. Coming out of South Africa over the weekend, President Cyril Ramaphosa says the United States President Donald Trump has disdain for protocol. So much so that Pretoria has now decided to confront Washington head on, with highly placed sources, according to the Sunday Times, saying that Ramaphosa had grown tired of trying to reason with a bully. Sunday Times revealed that Ramaphosa's administration has given up on trying to fix its relationship with the Trump administration and has decided to stand up to the bully regardless of the repercussions to follow. Given up? When exactly did Pretoria try to repair this relationship? All they've done is damage it for 25 years, and they've just picked up the pace since Trump became president. And stand up to the bully? Oh, please. If they think the U.S. has bullied them, imagine the heads exploding if the U.S. actually does target South Africa. Can you imagine U.S. companies banned from operating in South Africa? Tens of thousands of well-paying jobs would evaporate overnight. What about sanctions placed on political leaders? Let me jump ahead a little bit here. So about here, let's go from here. So we'll go from this point right here and play this, okay? Farm murders. And giving Americans a break on your racist ownership laws under BE. Now, their juvenile analysis is comical. The 30% tariffs have already led to over 40,000 job losses in just 2 months, according to the South African government itself. Imagine if tariffs are increased to 50%. It's just too much to consider. But they don't seem to care. Short-term pain. Those jobs are not coming back. Trump went as far as saying South Africa does not deserve to be part of the G20, but several countries, including Western European allies, have come out in defense of South Africa, which they say was a founding member of the G20. Well, we don't need them to say that. We're not stupid. We know what the G20 is. And Trump did say that, but only after this cavalcade of insults hurled at America during the G20. Watch the video.
That is fear-mongering to pursue the agenda of white supremacy.
You think Trump is pursuing a white supremacist agenda?
Yes, I think so.
Well, without the United States, the whole process of the G20 is moving forward.
You will not be bullied.
We will not be bullied. We will not agree to be bullied. Thank you. The program of a refugee, when you look at it, it's race-based. Firstly, you must be a white South African, and secondly, you must be an Afrikaner. This
Liar.
is just a race-based policy position. So in our context, it does not fit the definition of a refugee in line with the Geneva Convention.
We have received notice from the United States, a notice which we are still in discussions with them over, about a change of mind about participating in one shape, form, or other in the summit.
Because there is not a shift. The United States is not participating in official talks at the G20 in South Africa. They are not there to participate in official talks, despite what the South African president is falsely claiming.
Because as you know, there are a lot of very bad things happening. Very bad things.
Terrible things.
Terrible things happening.
It's a disgrace.
And what are those several G20 countries? Who are they exactly? We are aware of the German chancellor making a statement, but that's about it. Anyway, that was what I did last night. If you haven't watched that one has approaching 40,000 views now. Let me see. It's 39,700. Is that still correct? Come on. 40,400 views on that one. So I did that last night. 2,900 views. 64 people don't like it. Well, that's fine. I just told the truth. They don't like my analysis. It's factual information there. I showed you South African officials during the conference, the G20 Leaders Summit, insulting and mocking and belittling America. It's right there. They're the ones who did it, not me. I didn't make that up. That's not altered. It's not AI. That's them saying and doing those things. Yep. No, I haven't heard anything from Anna Kruger, and also NMS saw your message, and yeah. So I haven't heard from other folks. Wow, that's crazy. About her, so. What's this? Okay, someone sent me something here. Open this up real quick. Give me a second here. There's never enough time in the day for all this stuff. So I will be releasing the Steve Hofmeyer picture or video later tonight, the song with the video, because he sent me some pics. South African Bank becomes first African bank to plug into China's cross-border payment system. Wow. Standard Bank became the first African bank to integrate directly with China's cross-border interbank payment system, CHIPS. Or SIPs. Interesting. Africa is steadily reducing reliance on the dollar as BRICS influence grows. That's untrue. How? The one bank in Africa has done it. So how are they steadily reducing? How are you steadily reducing reliance on the dollar when only one bank in Africa just made this effort to integrate with China? That's just silly. That's just silly. Thanks for that link. The person sent it to me. Can't stand lies. Yeah, no, it's just some lies. Yeah, I like what Daniel Whitfield says. Funny how the real bully calls the U.S. the bully. Can't help but notice this classic communist playbook item, accusing someone else of what you yourself do in order to get the eyes to look away. That's rules for radicals. Saul Alinsky, a democratic socialist lunatic who hated America, did this stuff. Yes, and Janine says, no wonder Trump is frustrated with the Epstein thing. You give people everything and they keep wanting more. Same with medical board. Yeah, like the guy who just said, I'm out of here because I said, why are you obsessed with this pedo? Who cares? Trump released this information 4 times. Now, the information that was directed by Congress for release hasn't been released yet, but it has to be in 30 days. So we still got a few weeks on that. But, Trump isn't the one that's in there. I mean, he's mentioned, but so what? So what? That's like mentioning Ramaphosa. Just because I mention Ramaphosa every day doesn't mean he's guilty of some crime. It just means I'm talking about the news. The same thing about Trump. They're not guilty of any crime, just that they wanted to be close to him and they talked about him all the time. They were obsessed with Trump. All right. All right, well, thank you, Hendo, for promoting. I appreciate it. When is Brett Brazell? He has not been confirmed by the Senate yet. The Senate has confirmed. Mad Max has got another one for us here. 35 Rand. Thank you for that. Okay, so he's been added to the Senate's calendar. So there you go. For today. Yep. Gosh bless it, that won't come up any higher. I got to zoom it in. Give me a second there. Boy, Mad Max is good at finding stuff. It's not getting any bigger. Why is that? I guess because it's an attachment. I got it. Let me get out of here and save it as an attachment then. I can make it larger when it's an image, so let me do that. There it is. Now I can zoom in. So this is the Senate record, okay? Okay. So I don't know if he was going there today, but he's in the register. Leo Brent Bazell, Virginia, to be Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the United States, American Republic of South Africa. He was reported on November 20th by Mr. Reish without printed report. So he's supposed to be appearing. Yep. So there. Gifted memberships are coming in. Yeah, he has a bloodhound, that's for sure. Really grateful he's there. Spice Student just gave 5 memberships. Thank you for that. Notify power will be off in Madabang and Brits from 8 to 8. Wow, great. During the daytime, they're doing broad daylight murders of farmers now. So, I mean, it doesn't matter if the power's off during the day unless it's affecting the security fences. Yeah, he's interviewing for Job Me. Feedback from source. Anna going back for a second interview tomorrow. Okay, Anime, but that's good to hear. But I don't know about her car or what's going on with her. Like I said, maybe her phone's dead. Hang on. Some refugees. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right. So, yep. Other refugees. I was dealing with that. TV. Thank you, buddy. I dropped the new one today. Oh, okay. 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 Hey, Art Queen. What's up? Back in sunny Florida. How was the trip? That was a quick trip. You're back. You're back. You're back. Well done, Anna. Is she in the chat? I don't see her here. Okay. So I don't see her if somebody sees her. ANC members receive sanctions. They will say it's the whole country. Of course, they'll lie just like Zimbabwe. And we still hear this in Zimbabwe. That's what I point out in that video. Oh, the sanctions are illegal sanctions against Zimbabwe. There are no sanctions against Zimbabwe. That's a lie. Never have been. Complete, total balderdash. Complete poppycock, complete lie, complete horse manure. So deep, it reaches people's noses. It's utter nonsense. There have been no sanctions on Zimbabwe since it was become independent under ZANU and now ZANU PF. Hey, Mike. I enjoyed the conversation with Steve. Yeah, it was good. We got to point out your restaurant too. Yep, 35 Rand. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Nice to see the super chats come in. When do you think they'll vote on the bills against South Africa? I can't make any prediction on that, Janine. It has to make it to the floor. The bill from Ronnie Jackson has gotten out of committee, but that was in July. July, August, September, October, November. It's already been 5 months it's been on the floor. 5 months. Hasn't been brought up for a vote. You guys have to understand that hundreds of bills make it onto the floor of the House and Senate. Almost none of them become law. A lot of them never get out of committee. Citgo was taken from Venezuela. You mean Venezuela took Citgo, you mean? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so... Yeah, they will blame the U.S. for sanctions on that, which is a lie. Well, look at that. I mean, I told that to a journalist earlier today from NetVec24. I said, listen, I'm tired of the fake news in South Africa. And she said, what do you mean? I said, well, Newsroom Africa earlier this year, Amanda Khuz, who is a professor at Stellenbosch University, went on air and claimed that the U.S. has sanctions against South Africa. There was no sanctions against South Africa. So I made a video in which I refuted that and said, that's utter nonsense. That's balderdash. Show me the sanctions. Go to the Treasury Department, show me what sanctions have been applied to South Africa. There are no sanctions since the end of apartheid. No sanctions. We ended handouts. We stopped giving money away. That's not a sanction. That's our money. You're not entitled to it. That's not a sanction. So I made a video and said that. And then the next week, Newsroom Africa went on and said, last week, U.S. YouTube content creator or Colonel Chris Wyatt misled his viewers. That's not what they said, but something like that. Misled his viewers by telling them that Amanda Khuz was wrong about expropriation and compensation. I didn't say anything about expropriation and compensation about her. I talked about the lies about sanctions. And so you see how they distort things. They give me no recourse. Newsroom Africa had no interest in talking to me because they spread their propaganda, because they're fake news. Look what Carolyn Levitt just did, exposing that New York Times reporter who lied when Biden was president, falsely claimed and people buy that bullshit. They just believe it. You can see the man is insane and senile. He can't even walk a flight of stairs, falls down, and he can't, he's where am I supposed to go? Doesn't even know. He had to put a piece of tape on the floor and he still misses the tape. Senile. He's probably, slowly withering away as we speak. But it's insane, absolutely insane. And meanwhile, this guy takes 1/3 of the daily schedule of the president and says this is all the president did today. It's just a lie, an utter lie. And now he'll cover himself by saying, well, I didn't get the second 2 pages of the facts. I only got the first page. That's not real journalism. That's propaganda. Turkey's V says, I gave 10 memberships. Thank you for that. And I see people that I don't recognize. Some of these people I've never seen before. So thank you for the memberships for them. Maybe they'll hang around and keep it going. Bets Corp, thank you for the 70 Rand. Super Chat. Clouds are gathering. You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. But all good things must come to an end. All good things must come to an end. So I'll give it a moment. A couple more of these things to pop up, but I do need to stop. I have work to do. I have to go brief our kitchen staff this evening. I have to put some stuff together and write some letters. So, yep. So busy. 3 months in South Africa. Oh, was it that long, Art Queen? Gosh, it seemed like it was 3 weeks. I guess it was 3 weeks. It seemed quick. All right, well, I'm glad you're back safely. That's important. You got back before the holiday rush, which is smart. Smart. Yeah, that is very smart. Okay, I think there's 2 more of that. Spicy Tunes gave $10. Thanks for the news. You're very welcome. Thank you for the $10. Congratulations on your video performance. Much better than any of my music videos. But the Steve Hofmeyer song will be coming out soon. I just got work to do to get it done. So Steve sent me a bunch of photographs I can use, and some fans will be in there. So you might see yourself in the music video about Steve. Trump meets top security officials in the Oval Office aside. Next moves Venezuela. Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, and General Dan Cain. Raising Cain. All right, guys, thank you all so much. That's going to do it for this. Have a good day. Have a good evening. I've got a lot of work to do. Bets Corb gave, what's that one? That's 70 Rand. Didn't we already do Bets Corbs? Okay. And Spicy Tunes hasn't come up yet, but I've already thanked him. Thank you all so much. Cheers, and be well out there. Thanks for tuning in. All right. Cool beans. There's a Spicy Tunes one.